In the early 1900s, there were efforts to incorporate Swaziland along with Lesotho and Botswana into South Africa. However, following the imposition of apartheid and South Africa's withdrawal from the Commonwealth in 1961, these plans were shelved. Swaziland was granted limited self-governance by the British before the Swaziland Independence Act was passed in 1968. On September 6, 1968, Swaziland became an independent nation with a constitutional monarch under King Sobhuza II. Its proximity to Johannesburg and Pretoria turned Swaziland into a refuge for members of South African liberation movements who were facing severe repression in their homeland. In an important move, the South African government amended the South African Police Act in late 1968, enabling police operations in other countries, which led to an influx of government spies in Swaziland, Botswana, Lesotho, and beyond. The relationship between the African National Congress and Swaziland has its roots in the establishment of the South African Native National Congress in 1912. Key figures such as Swazi Queen Regent Labo Tsibeni and Crown Prince Sobhuza, who later became King Sobhuza II in 1912, played a crucial role by financing the Abantu Batho newspaper, which served as the South African Native National Congress's voice. During the 1920s and 1930s, many Swazis actively participated in the activities of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union and the ANC, particularly within the Transvaal region. Notable figures included Richard W. Msimang, a Swazi native, and Benjamin Nxumalo, a relative of King Sobhuza II, both of whom were instrumental in the South African Native National Congress, which was eventually renamed the ANC. Nxumalo represented Swaziland in drafting the ANC's constitution in 1919 and later established a branch of the ANC in Sobhuza's home in Sophia Town. According to Tula Simpson, who studied the ANC's activities in Swaziland from 1960 to 1979, there was a significant increase of South African refugees arriving in Swaziland during the late 1950s and early 1960s. This wave of migration was a response to escalating repression by the apartheid regime, which began to enforce strict laws aggressively. By the mid-1960s, several ANC and Umkhonto we Sizwe activists had settled in Swaziland. Among them were Joseph Ndluli, Ablon Bafana Duma, and Albert Hlomo, who were already based there by 1965 when Stanley Mabizela arrived. Their mission was to establish underground MK network by mobilizing South African refugees within Swaziland and coordinating with individuals in Natal to facilitate movement for MK operations. However, recruitment proved challenging as many prospective recruits led relatively comfortable lives as middle-class earners. British policy at the time sought to integrate these refugees into Swazi society, allowing them to work and settle. In the mid-1970s, the ANC aimed to rebuild the structures in Swaziland. In December 1974, Thabo Mbeki and Maxwell Sisulu arrived to strengthen relations with the Swazi monarchy and recruit more refugees. In September 1975, Mbeki, an ANC leader, Oliver Tambo, met with King Sobhuza II to discuss their plans. Subsequently, other key figures like Jacob Zuma, John Nkadimeng, and Martin Ramokgadi also visited Swaziland to develop an MK military network. Zuma focused particularly on establishing connections between Natal and Swaziland, while Nkadimeng and Ramokgadi aimed to build links to the Transvaal. Additionally, safe houses for transitioning MK recruits were set up in various locations around Manzini. Following Mozambique's independence in 1975, the volume of MK cadres moving through Swaziland to Mozambique and other countries surged. Swaziland became a vital transit point for recruits heading to military training in various African nations as well as in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. In 1977, the ANC utilized facilities in Ngwane Park, Manzini, to assist refugees seeking to join its ranks. At these recruitment centers, prospective members were required to write their life histories, explaining their motivations for joining the ANC and describe their journeys to Swaziland before being transported to Maputo for security vetting by ANC officials. King Sobhuza II initially showed sympathy towards the ANC, often overlooking its activities. However, his perspective shifted when Umkhonto weSizwe began using Swaziland as a transit point for weapons destined for South Africa. This change in attitude led to several raids by Swazi authorities, resulting in the confiscation of ANC weapons in transit. According to Simpson, significant issues arose when two groups of recruits notified the Swazi police, who subsequently informed the South African government. This collaboration led to the capture of Samson Lukhele, a taxi operator who acted as a courier for the ANC, transporting letters, money, and recruits between Natal and Swaziland. Lukhele's information resulted in the arrest of Joseph Mdluli, a crucial figure in the ANC underground in Durban, on March 18, 1976. That same month, two other individuals, Joseph Mpisi Ndluli and Cleophas Ndlovu, were abducted by South African security forces near the Swaziland border as part of a trap facilitated by Lukhele under the guise of recruiting new members. Additionally, Dlomo, Mbeki, and Zuma were arrested by Swazi police and detained in the Mbambane Maximum Security Prison. Although they were nearly deported to South Africa, Stanley Mabizela, Moses Mabhida, and Thomas Nkobi managed to secure their release, and they were eventually deported to Mozambique. On February 17, 1982, King Sobhuza II signed a secret agreement with South Africa, which prohibited both parties from engaging in any acts of force against each other's territories. This pact also called for action, whether individually or collectively, to eliminate such threats. Following the agreement, Stanley Mabizela, the ANC representative in Swaziland, was expelled from the country. The death of King Sobhuza II in August 1982 severely impacted the ANC's position in Swaziland, as it ended the historic ties between the Swazi monarchy and the ANC. This agreement was interpreted by Pretoria as a green light to handle ANC activists in Swaziland without restraint. Alongside this, the Swaziland security forces launched a sustained propaganda campaign and arrested numerous activists, especially throughout the 1980s. Elias Mabizela notes that the assassination of Detective Sergeant Chapi Hlubi, a notorious police officer in Soweto, in January 1978, marked the escalation of MK attacks within South Africa. Hlubi was notorious for his role in firing upon protesting students during the 1976 uprising. In remembrance of the Battle of Isandlwana, the ANC declared 1979 the Year of the Spear and 1980 the Year of the Charter, marking 25 years of the Freedom Charter. Both declarations aim to bolster morale and encourage increased ANC activities in South Africa, with Swaziland serving as a critical transit point for MK operatives. Cadres travel from Swaziland into the Transvaal via the GP's Reef and Oshuk border posts, while Kolela and Pongola border posts link them with the underground operations in Natal. In 1980, MK executed a sabotage attack on the Sasol 1 plant, followed by a strike on the Futraka military base in 1981, the Tonga outpost in 1982, and bombings in Hector Spruit and Pretoria in 1982 and 1983, respectively. All these operations were orchestrated by MK members using Swaziland either as a base or as a transit route. One of the key locations from which MK launched operations was in KwaVuma, in KwaZulu-Natal, located less than 5 kilometers from the Swaziland border. MK cadres in Natal utilized in KwaVuma as a transit point for infiltrating guerrillas into South Africa from Swaziland and Mozambique. Once in the town, they stayed in safe houses to evade detection. A prominent figure in this effort was Jameson Nongolozi Mngomezulu, an ANC and MK member born in KwaVuma. After joining MK, he was deployed to Swaziland as a base commander, playing a crucial role in facilitating the movement of cadres between Swaziland and Natal. Facing escalating threats to his life, Mngomezulu eventually sought refuge in Swaziland. Mngomezulu's sister, Nokuhamba Nyawo, was also instrumental in supporting MK operations. After a recruitment to MK, she gathered intelligence and provided supplies to operatives passing through the area. Nyawo assisted guerrillas in crossing the border into Swaziland. As Jacob Zuma acknowledged, her efforts, along with others from KwaVuma, helped MK secure vital base and entry points into the country, easily accessible from both Mozambique and Swaziland. In the 1980s, weapon shipments destined for MK in Natal frequently passed through this area. In 1983, Jabulani nobleman Nxumalo was deployed to Swaziland, posing as a reporter for the Swaziland Observer under the alias Jabulani Dlamini. Although he was detained by the Swazi police and expelled from the country in 1983, he returned under a different pseudonym later that year, settling in the Shiselweni district in southern Swaziland. From there, Nxumalo crossed into KwaZulu-Natal, establishing an MK unit based in KwaVuma, where he served as a commissar for MK in rural Natal. This was crucial for launching Operation Vulindlela. In 1984, he was arrested again by Swazi police and deported to Tanzania. The rise in MK military activity in KwaVuma was tied to Operation KwaVuma, an ANC initiative aimed at establishing military bases in the area and engaging the rural populace to foster a supportive environment for MK missions. Operation KwaVuma was initiated in 1984 by the Natal Regional Command of Umkhonto weSizwe alongside its Northern Natal Military Command. A political commissar was appointed to serve as the deputy commander, coordinating with the Chief of Staff, Chief of Intelligence, and Chief of Logistics. Among the key figures involved in planning the operation was Zwelibanzi Nyanda. The initial phase focused on laying the groundwork for guerrilla operational areas in northern Natal, beginning with the political mobilization of local communities. Preparations included surveying the terrain, recruiting locals, and establishing training bases. The aim was for recruits to form MESPES and political organizations and underground units supported by MK military structures with trained MK guerrillas forming the backbone of these efforts. KwaVuma was strategically selected due to its location at the northernmost tip of Natal, bordering Swaziland and Mozambique. MK and ANC operatives in Swaziland played a crucial role in connecting the movement with the local population. MK aimed to capitalize on the rising anti-government sentiment among locals, particularly in response to the government's plans to cede KwaVuma and the Kwangwane Bantustan to Swaziland. This discontent led some residents to sympathize with MK and seek military training, paving the way for the initiation of a people's war in KwaVuma. A two-man reconnaissance team sent to evaluate the area returned with an unfavorable report regarding base establishment. However, another team produced a more optimistic assessment, resulting in the establishment of two units, Nizoshata and Maqedindaba. Both units trained several local recruits. Unfortunately, one MK recruit was captured by the police and exposed the existence of MK bases. This prompted South African security forces to investigate, and the KwaZulu-Natal police extensively searched the area. One of the comrades, known as Post, possibly Linda Kuzwayo, discovered that the Maqedindaba base was being surrounded by South African Defence Force troops. He fired a warning shot to alert 4 unit members, allowing them to escape through a secret route, but tragically, Post was shot and killed in the process. Others were arrested and subsequently sentenced to prison on Robben Island. Consequently, Operation Ingwavuma failed to establish a robust MK presence that could spark a people's war. In response to MK activities in Swaziland, the South African government retaliated by bombing safe houses, abducting ANC activists to convert them into Askaris, and assassinating those who refused to cooperate. The Swaziland police supported these efforts by increasing patrols along the border to stop activist movement. Additionally, South Africa exploited operatives from the Mozambique National Resistance, RENAMO, to further its objectives. The government also exerted pressure on the Swazi government to take action against ANC and MK members, particularly following the signing of the Nkomati Accord with Mozambique, as some MK operatives had fled to Swaziland from Mozambique. The South African government employed various methods to neutralize MK operatives in Swaziland, with abduction being a significant tactic. The security branch in Port was instrumental in abducting, detaining, and murdering political activists and MK members operating between Swaziland and Natal. While abductions began in the 1960s, they escalated in the 1970s and 80s. According to Simpson, the first refugee taken from Swaziland was Rosemary Ann Wenzel, a Liberal Party member involved in underground activities for the African Resistance Movement, who was abducted on August 11, 1964. In mid-March 1976, Joseph Ndluli and Cleophas Ndlovu, 2 MK operatives engaged in ANC underground work in the Greater Durban area, were kidnapped by South African security forces near the Swaziland border. Together, they were responsible for recruiting MK members and facilitating their movement into Swaziland for military training. The 2 were taken to Island Rock near Sodwana, where they faced interrogation. Ndlovu endured severe torture, including being blindfolded, cuffed, and restrained with a rope around his neck tied to a tree. They were later tried alongside Harry Gwala and 9 others in Pietermaritzburg from August 1976 to July 1977. An affidavit from surgeon Mr. R. Dennison Leroux documented scars on Ndluli's forehead, neck, forearms, and legs, indicating signs of torture. In February 1981, Joe Pillay, a South African refugee and teacher at St. Joseph's Mission near Manzini, was abducted. His captors inadvertently dropped a passport, leading to the arrest of several kidnappers, identified as members of RENAMO. However, the South African government intervened, requesting the prosecutor not to oppose bail, resulting in the release and subsequent disappearance of Pillay's captors. He was ultimately released on March 10, 1981. December 1982 saw multiple ANC activists rounded up in Swaziland and expelled to Mozambique. In April 1984, 5 individuals, including Christopher Musiane and Vikeli Sizwe Colin Khumalo, known as the Bunye 4, were also abducted from Swaziland. On December 15, 1986, South African security forces kidnapped Ibrahim Ismail Ibrahim, Mandla Maseko, and Simon Dladla in Swaziland, later bringing them to trial in South Africa, where Ibrahim received a 20-year sentence, while Maseko and Dladla were sentenced to 23 and 12 years, respectively. On June 4, 1980, a violent attack resulted in the death of Patrick Makau, a member of MK, alongside 7-year-old Patrick Nkosi and Mawik Nkosi, following 2 bomb blasts in Manzini. This attack was a retaliation for an MK operation at the Sasol oil refinery in Secunda. In December 1983, an ANC member, Zwela Kenyanda, and a Swazi national were killed during a raid on a flat in Manzini. Also in December 1981, the Special Task Force of the South African Police executed 2 MK members in Swaziland as a revenge for the attack on Voortrekker Hoogte military base on August 12, 1981. Following the interrogation of a detainee known only as Molefe, MK member Mnisi was turned into an askari after revealing key information about MK operations and was tasked with luring Operative George to a meeting at the Swaziland border. When George's vehicle approached the designated meeting point, Special Task Force members opened fire, killing both George and his comrade, Brown. In 1983, Brigadier Skoon ordered the elimination of Zwelibanzi Nyanda, an MK commander in Swaziland. Accompanied by Captain Eugene de Kock and other security police, Jan Hatting Kronj crossed into Swaziland, staying at a hotel in Mbabane to plan the operation. They raided Nyanda's home at night, resulting in the deaths of Nyanda and fellow MK member Keith McFadden, while the informer who provided their location was allowed to escape. In June 1985, South African policemen, along with a member of the Inkatha Freedom Party, abducted James Nongolozi Mngomezulu and 2 others from Swaziland. After severe torture, Mngomezulu lapsed into a coma and died, with authorities subsequently destroying his body by blowing it up at a missile range near Sontwana Bay. In June 1986, Jabulani Sidney Msibi, an MK operative and bodyguard to ANC President Oliver Tambo, was kidnapped in Swaziland under the directives of the security branch. He was transported to South Africa, taken to Daisy Farm, tortured, and ultimately killed when efforts to turn him into an askari failed. August 14, 1986, 2 operatives of Umkhonto weSizwe, Jeremiah Timolo and Mbengeni Kono, lost their lives at the hands of the Eastern Transvaal Security Branch while en route to South Africa. In June 1988, Nontsikelelo Ntsikixotho, a young MK member, was killed in an ambush near the Swaziland border. That same year, Phila Phosha Ndwandwe, an acting commander of MK operating from Swaziland, was also killed. She had been instrumental in facilitating the infiltration of ANC cadres into Natal. After her abduction by members of the Durban Security Branch, she steadfastly refused to cooperate with the police. Lacking insufficient evidence for prosecution, the police chose to execute her instead, burying her in October 1988 on a farm in Elandskop, situated outside Pietermaritzburg. In July 1988, Emmanuel Mthokozisi Mpova Mzimela, another MK member, was kidnapped in Swaziland by the Durban Security Branch. He too was executed after he declined to become an informant. His body was buried on a farm in the Elandskop region. In May 1987, Viva Dlodlo, an MK operative, was ambushed and killed while driving in Swaziland. At the time of his tragic death, he had been married for just 5 months and had recently welcomed a son into the world. Furthermore, on July 9, 1987, Job Tabane, alias Cassius Make, the youngest member of the ANC National Executive Committee, and Sello Mutau were killed in Swaziland. Their vehicle was forced off the road between Matsapa and Mbabane shortly after Mutau picked Tabane up from the airport in Mbabane. Following his release from prison, Nelson Mandela visited Swaziland in November 1990, meeting with exiles still residing there. After the apartheid regime crumbled, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established to investigate the human rights violations that occurred during that period. During this process, the ANC submitted a list of 52 MK operatives who had been killed by apartheid security forces in Swaziland. However, the Amnesty Committee only received applications for 14 of these targeted killings. The number of MK operatives killed along the Swaziland-South African border surpasses those killed in other neighboring countries, highlighting Swaziland's strategic significance to MK in the fight against apartheid.